Hi everyone, my name is Mark Duiker and welcome to another episode of Durable Functions. If you've been following the news the last 7-8 days since Ignite, then you probably have noticed that there are quite some updates to Azure Functions, and one of the major ones is definitely the release of the Durable Functions version 2, which is now generally available. So in this video I'm not going to talk about the entire version 2 and all of the new things and all of the changes. It's just too much for one video, but I want to focus on what the migration looks like. So I'm gonna update my own demo project, which I use for this vlog and for my blog and for workshops, just to experience what it is to migrate from a version 1.83 in my case to a version 2.00. Before we do the actual migration and use the new package in Visual Studio, let's have a brief look in the release notes. So if you look on GitHub in the release notes, it already mentions some things there about what the package is, but also a link of the instructions how to update a Durable Function app from the 1x version to a 2x version. And then it lists the improvements and breaking changes. But that is also mentioned in this migration instructions page. So let's head over to the documentation site. So this is the Durable Functions versions overview page, which describes the new features in 2.x. So it talks about durable entities, so the stateful entities. Definitely going to do lots of videos about this one. Durable HTTP is also a new feature, so you'll be able to directly call HTTP APIs from the orchestrator instead of wrapping them into activity functions, which is also very neat. But this, I want to focus on this one, the migrate from 1x to 2x. So it mentioned that we need to upgrade the extension, and then we actually need to update our code because there are several breaking changes. One of the first things it mentions is that the host.json file schema is changed. I didn't do any specific stuff in my demo project, so I don't need to touch this for now. What I do need to change are all of the types I used for the client base and the context-based classes. So for instance, the durable orchestration client base is now replaced with an iDurable orchestration client interface. Or you can also use a more generic iDurable client interface. I was a bit intrigued why there are two options, but if you look at this iDurable client interface in GitHub, so here it is, iDurable client, that actually inherits both from iDurable context client and the new iDurable entity client. So just a convenient way to be able to use both orchestrations and durable entities. Okay, so let's head over to Visual Studio and let's start using the new package. So this is my demo project, contains quite a bit of functions. You can see here it's still using the 1.8.3 version of the durable task extension. So let's update that. So there's several updates I can do, but I only want to focus on durable task now. Update to 2.0.0. I need to accept the license first. You don't see the pop-up windows here, so I just need to describe it. I'm going to accept the licenses for those dependent packages. Okay, so now it's restoring. Okay, so the restore is complete. So now let's do a rebuild, and now I should see loads of errors and red squigglies everywhere. Yes, there we go. 69 errors in this solution. All right, well, that is as expected. So let's start fixing this. So in the first one, that's an orchestration client function. So this orchestration client attribute doesn't exist anymore. So this is now replaced with a durable client. attribute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply do a find replace in the entire solution. So everywhere I see this Orchestration Client attribute, I want to replace it with a durable client attribute. I'm going to use the find and replace functionality in Visual Studio, but I think also those windows will not be shown in the recording. No, indeed, it's open now, but you don't see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for all the cases of this and replace it with this. All right. Okay. Looking for Orchestration Client attribute, replacing the durable client attribute. Looking the entire solution only in C# files. Replace all. Okay, so 8 occurrences have been replaced, so that's done, including this one. It doesn't find it yet, but that's because I'm not using the new package at the moment. So right now I'm adding the using, so now it's recognized. What we also see now is that this durable orchestration client base is actually green, so it's actually valid to use. But when I hover over it, I'm sorry you don't see that window, but we get the tooltip that this is actually deprecated and that they suggest to use the durable orchestration client interface instead. I already mentioned I'd like to use the more generic interface, the durable client interface, so I can do both orchestrations and durable entities. So I'm going to replace this one again. So the thing I want to do now is I'm going to do a find replace for this towards the durable, not the client, durable client. So this is the replace I'm going to do now. So again, you're not seeing the window, but you have to trust me. I'm doing the find replace. Again, I'm looking in the entire solution. C# files only. Okay, let's go. Okay, 8 occurrences have been done. All right. Okay, so I can remove this again. So this is now green again, so this is good. This is not accepted. Interesting. But this one is. Okay, so in case we don't specify our instance ID, this is not allowed. In case we do specify the instance ID, then it's fine. It should also be possible to not provide the instance ID because the framework will generate an instance ID for the orchestrator instance. So the pop-up says the durable client doesn't have an applicable method name start new async, but appears to have an extension method by the name. So this implementation is done through an extension. So this is just a string. Orchestrator input is a dynamic in my case, but probably it doesn't like it to be dynamic. So I'm reading object and putting it in something dynamic, but this should just be just like far and it's read objects. Okay, so now it is accepted. It didn't like it to be a dynamic. Probably doesn't know then if it's can be actually an input object or an instance ID. Okay, so the HTTP start function is now done. That's cool. Let's move over to the next one. Okay, so although renaming is done, but the usings still need to be added. So it's probably just a quite simple way to resolve this by just adding the usings and make sure I don't use dynamic anymore. Yeah, so this is also fine. Okay, so apparently we don't have an orchestration runtime status anymore. Okay, so I did not look into this, so I have no idea. And there are some cases that they moved away from orchestration but introduced the more generic durable term. So is there perhaps a durable runtime status now? Let me see. No, that's probably too obvious. Or is it? No, it was still the same. It just again the using. So it's still orchestration runtime status, but again it was just a using statement. Okay, so that's good. So the same here. Just use the new durable task extension. Yeah, it's all good. Again, the same thing. Using the extension. Okay, this is another interesting one. So when we want to, oh, okay, I see some renaming went wrong. I didn't do a match case when I was replacing the orchestration client. Ouch. That is not good. Okay, but the problem here is get status async. We need to pass in an instance ID and then a boolean to show the history, and then a boolean to show the history output, and then boolean to show the input. So those should all be there. Oh, I'm missing one. Oh, this is a typo. That's interesting. So this only works with, oh no, there are overloads actually. Let me see what the right is here. So I provide 3 arguments. I provide the instance ID of the orchestration I want to get the state from, and I pass in 2 booleans. But apparently that is not a valid option anymore. I also have to provide a boolean to show the input. Okay, well, I think that's fair. So I need to do some renaming here. I need to do some renaming here anyway. So history input. This then also needs to have the show input. Show input. Okay, so that doesn't exist yet. Bool inputs. So again, this will also be a show inputs. False. And we're also going to have to get this show inputs. So there's the show input string. And we do it here. Show inputs. Okay. Not the nicest code, but this is now working. Get status async. So previously, indeed, you could provide the instance ID and just 2 booleans to show history and to show the history output. But now you also need to specify with a boolean to show the input, to include that in the status information you get back. Okay, let's move on to some of the other methods. Again, so this is just making sure that the durable task extension is used. So that's that. Same thing here. And terminate instance. Also same thing there. All right, and then we arrive at some activities. The activity trigger should still be there, so that should be fine. And since I usually just use a simple type or just a simple logo, I don't use the activity context, so I didn't need to change it from the base class to the interface. Ooh, yeah, here I do have it. Excellent. It's only better for this demo. All right, so this doesn't exist anymore. Durable activity context. So we now want to also find replace this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for this. I'm going to replace it with this. So I'm going to go through the entire solution, find the durable activity context, and replace it with an durable activity context. And this time I'm also going to check the match case to make sure I don't do any renames which I don't intend. Replace all. Just 3 replacements. Cool. Okay, this is green. Again, just an activity trigger. Okay, well then I have some orchestrations. So the orchestration trigger is still there, we just need to use the durable task. But then again we have the same thing, we are using now the base class. It mentions that it's deprecated, so let's just replace it as well right now. Let me again paste this so you can see what I will be doing. I'm going to look for this, and I'm going to replace it with this, the interface. Alright, find the base class, and no, I'm not going to replace it with an interface of the base class because that doesn't exist. I'm going to replace it with an durable orchestration context. Alright. Okay, match case, find the entire solution. Okay, go. Okay, so 13 occurrences have been replaced. Okay, and one was this example one. Okay, so this also works. It has been replaced here as well, but I still need to do the using. Alright. Same thing here. Using durable task extension. Okay, then we arrive at some more activities. Again, it's just the using. I'm not using any context types here. More activities. And another one. Okay, then another orchestration. So it's already been renamed. I just need to add the extension virtual task. Alright. Yeah, and some 2 more activities again. Just virtual task extension again. So it's a lot of the same stuff. So far just 1 or 2 things which were a bit off, but the rest is all the same, which is good. It's quite predictable then. Okay. Some more orchestrations. Some more usings. Okay, we're nearly there. Okay. The failing orchestrator. I'm not sure if Visual Studio is keeping up. Yep, okay. And then the final set of the large messages. Okay, and the orchestrator that belongs to it. All right. Okay. So all this code is good, right? So let's build it now. I'm now thinking about my unit test project. I'm using some mocking there, and that mocking uses the base class. So probably I don't see any errors anymore, but I still want to update my unit test so it won't use the base classes anymore, but it also uses the interface there. It's still building. So let's already have a peek. Oh, there were still some issues. I didn't touch my reflection project yet. Yeah, that's a good point again, because here I'm explicitly searching for certain attributes, and those don't exist anymore. So this is now a Drupal client attribute, and then it's still a case of just making sure that the Drupal task extension is used. Right, okay, so now the reflection part also works. But there's still an issue here with the unit itself. So let's have a look. Okay, so it contains here that the reference to the type Drupal orchestration context base claims it's defined in Microsoft Azure Web Jobs extensions.Drupal task, but it could not be found. So this has to do where am I doing the mocking? Here. That's the context. There's the get source here. All right, let's do a full rebuild now because it didn't build first. Well, let's build the whole project again because that should now pass. All right. Okay, so now the issues are just. Can I make this a bit bigger? Oops, so now the issues are really in my test project. Because I want to use these types. Again, I need to make sure I'm using them. All right, this is also good. Because I did the find replace over the whole solution. I also did the renames in this project as well. So that's a good thing. Okay, do a final build now. And let's run the unit tests, and then actually let's run the solution locally. and invoke it to see if actually everything is still working. Okay, so the build has succeeded. That's good. Let's kick off the unit tests. I did run them before, so let's make sure I really run them again to make sure it's against the latest code. Waiting. Yes, there we go. Yeah, all is green, so that's cool. So let's just run this. Okay, so it's now should start up. So we should probably see the CLI if it's running. Okay, yeah. So it's now starting the local function runtime, and we should see some output here soon. Yes, there we go. So this should run without any issues, and once it's there, I will invoke one of the HTTP endpoints from VS Code. Right, it's starting up all right. All the functions are there. Okay, cool. Let's switch to VS Code and let's just call one of the functions. There's no need to run them all, but just to make sure that at least it works. Yeah, okay, so this lists all of our changes. So let's call this get character info orchestrator to see if we can find an image for Luke. So this uses the Star Wars API in wrapped HTTP calls still in activity functions. So this is also a good candidate to refactor to use the durable HTTP API soon. But let's just do this to see if it works. So our refactoring was actually successful. So it's making a request to my local solution now. Okay, let's run this. So let's actually get the result from it. I think we have an error. Where is this? It's a bit slow. Still running. Oh, okay, that's where I put. Oh, okay, so actually the orchestration is still running. Let's call it again to see if it's done. Still running. Okay, let's call it one more time. This is exciting. Let's keep saying running. Okay, I don't see any errors. So it is executing, so that's good. No errors here. That's sort of fine. Once more. Okay, now it's completed. Okay, that took a very long time. Still, it has finished. All right. I'm going to check this all in. And so the only change which we actually did was making sure that we now have the Drupal task extension version 2.0. And then again, all of the code has been updated to make sure that it's now compatible with this 2.0. So let me go to commit this. Now using Drupal task extension 2.0. Okay. Committing. All right, let's push it to develop. So in my next video, I can now use the version 2 of this Drupal Functions API. All right. All right, so that's it for this video. So it took me about, well, within half an hour, we've done this refactoring. So hopefully your function app won't be that much bigger than mine. Otherwise, you're probably putting a bit too much responsibility into one function app. So it also depends, of course, which APIs you actually were using. But it's not a very big break, I have to say. It's relatively quick to do this. Okay, if you want to stay up to date, definitely like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. There's some more information on my blog as well. Feel free to follow your contacts to Twitter, either through my personal Twitter account, and definitely also follow the AC Funk updates. Until next time, bye.